Hello, friends. All righty here. Gonna wait just a little bit, see who may trickle in for today's live stream. If you're joining us live, welcome. Hello, hope you're doing well. If you are not joining us live, then I hope you enjoy the recording and that you, if you have any questions, feel free just to throw them out into the comments. I do my best to respond to every single one, certainly read them all, and kind of use that to decide what we want to do moving forwards. So for anyone who is just joining, we are building Recast. And this sort of series of videos is all around building out a end-to-end SaaS, software as a service product, and with the ultimate goal of trying to sell it. So the source code is currently not open source. If we fail to sell it and then we just stop, then I'll open source the entire thing because it's doing no one any good. The service is a file conversion service as of right now, so it allows you to convert any file to any other file type. Currently it only does images and only a subset of them, so we have quite a bit left to do on like the actual whole conversion part of it. But we are also focusing on building this entire thing into a business and not just kind of hacking around with the technology side. So what we've been working on this week has been building out a blog and making a pipeline for us to fill it with content so we can post it out to social media channels. So if someone were to come around and buy Recast, let's say for $5,000, which is very small, but in terms of like micro acquisitions, if they bought the product, they would not only get like the service and the website, but they would also get the content, the social feeds, right? Like everything together that kind of builds out the brand of what we're building. So lots of stuff to do on the periphery of building out sort of a product. And we're going to today focus on a little more of the content side of it. We're going to add a RSS feed. We're going to look at adding a sitemap if we get there. So Google and other bots have an easier way of kind of finding all the content on our website. And we're going to use the RSS feed to set up some automations. So we're going to try to automate whenever we post a new article, it will be picked up and posted automatically to our Twitter or our Instagram or whatever. So we don't need to like do all that stuff manually, right? So that is the goal for what we're doing. I have spent a little bit of time the past couple of days tweaking the site and the blog. So if you were watching earlier, we kind of left off with like this very basic blog, and I want to show you around a little bit to show where we currently stand before we jump into the code. So with that, let's go into the coding view. Turn me into a circle. Move myself a little bit out of the way. Excellent. Hey, Colo, welcome. Hope you're enjoying. Feel free to ask any questions. So, I wonder what my sound is set to. We look like we're good there. So, this is our homepage. It's zoomed in a bunch, so it will be, slightly different on whatever screen you're doing. Hello. Welcome. Achaya. I am famous for mispronouncing things, so doing my best. Haven't really finished the homepage yet, right? You can select your file to convert. Here's like our test directory, and then it kind of pops up here, and you can convert to, hey man, Sharose, welcome back. You can say like it's a JPEG, so I'm gonna convert it to like a GIF, and then you click convert. This is local, right? So the conversion service when we're doing it locally. Nerjoy, welcome. You have to run the back-end process to make it work, and then once it's converted, you can download it. We're using a whole bunch of different UI toolkits here because I haven't actually picked the one I want, which is definitely on me. So we're doing like, we have some Shad UI in there. We have Next UI in there. We have my own button in there. We have React Aria in there. It is all over the place. That's definitely going to be something that we're going to refactor and clean up. However, we haven't quite dialed in. I'm settling mostly on like a green-blue color scheme for the entire thing, kind of trying to get people to be like calming and nice and, you know, that sort of invoke the feeling of like everything's going to be okay when they show up on the page. Like, hey, we got this, don't worry. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Hello, I'm still watching the first session on this SaaS. Yeah, there's a bit of content to catch up with, but feel free to watch this live. I'm going to kind of continue giving a little overview of where we're at. The rest of the homepage is awful. Not even done. Don't even worry about it. It's just here for like spacing. What we've been focusing on now, like the core part of the conversion works, right? We went ahead and started working on the blog. So this is going to look a little different from where we left off last time. So I changed the name. I know it says blog and it's going to stay blog because it's the blog, but the blog now has a name. And I went with the name The Data Dispatch, which I thought had a nice little alliteration ring to it. And then when you scroll, the name gently goes off to the side, right? And then we have this transparent, leaning into the transparency and the blurs, which I think is a fun effect. You kind of get this look. When you hover over the pictures, it will zoom in. Although, it looks like it doesn't, oh wait, I don't know. Slightly buggy. Amazing, thank you. It's hovering over this, but if you hover over the actual image, it actually doesn't trigger it. You have to hover over the card. So that's like a very small bug. Do you see that? All right, well, we'll fix that. So just like nice little subtle effects here to be like, okay, cool. The text color changes, and then we have additional cards down here. If I zoom out, I'm zoomed in for people. But if you zoom out all the way and you're not zoomed in, then you kind of get this effect, which I think is just really, really, really nice. So like you come in, you have the title, you scroll down, you have all the blog articles. We're going to do a little more work here on this homepage, but it's basically just a grid that is going to lay things out. We'll probably add in a couple more colors. And that's that. So then you click into an article, right? So now I've updated like the header here, how to install FFmpeg on macOS. This was an example. And it just kind of is a straightforward article. And since we don't have a footer at the bottom of the page, we like can't scroll down anymore. So that's something I want to get to here. But all in all, I think it looks really, really tight. Feels good, looks pretty good. And so we just need to keep iterating on this and build on it. So a couple things I want to tackle, and I was going to tackle it anyways, and I was like, well, I might as well stream this entire thing, is we want to get syntax highlighting in here for code blocks that we're going to be using. So we want some syntax highlighting. We're going to want a footer at the bottom, like actually build out the footer for the first time. So the entire page is going to look, complete, and that'll be a good way to kind of understand how this blog looks and feels. And then we're going to do the RSS feed. So that's kind of where my head is at right now. And then of course, like up here, this is the navigation. So you can go click and go back right to where we were. So it's feeling pretty good. Obviously there's a couple, oh no, that works fine now. Okay, so don't exactly know what happened there, but yeah, feel free to kind of shout out. I feel like this is looking really, really, really nice, and we just need to do a little more refinement on the entire thing. So the one other thing I want to talk about that we got working end to end last time, but just barely, is the content generation. So here's the GitHub repo, again, not private, not public, but we have a GitHub workflow. This is so cool. We have a GitHub workflow called content generation. This content generation workflow runs once a day. And what it does is it goes and it's this file. What it does is it goes and uses the Notion API and the Chat GPT API to pull from Notion like the title of an article that we put in there. So we have a database in Notion that has like all the articles we want it to write for us. So we pull that from Notion and get the very first one based on the order property. And then we go ahead and have ChatGPT write the first draft of this article. And then we take it and export that as a file. And then we write that file to our repo. And then we check it in and create a pull request. So here in our pull requests, the last one I did was this one, right? So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it automatically creates a pull request that says, okay, let me check what the latest article you want me to write is, and it will write it. And if you go and look at it, this is me fixing bugs, don't worry about that. It creates the blog, how to install FFmpeg. It creates this thing, it adds in the metadata, and then it puts in the context and everything, the content for the article. And then all we have to do is use Vercel preview links to look at what this looks like, make sure it's good, do any editing we want, and then we can post it. So super, super powerful way for us to leverage sort of the AI tools that we have now to like make first drafts of content. So we're not sitting here writing a billion blog posts and we can focus on building. So that's what we have. So this thing was mostly written by ChatGPT. So, if it's bad, that's why. All right, so into the code, what I was doing and what I want to pick up right now is we're using MDX for our markdown engine with next.js, and I want to get in syntax highlighting into this. So if I go, let's go ahead and just, if I go back to our homepage and let's do the test page, right? So I want to go into our test, and then I want to go testing. Okay, so here, right, we want it like const, hello. This is just like an example function. Return, wow, this is good. Right? So this is an example function. We can go back to our code and be like, okay, cool. But this has no syntax highlighting, and we want it to have syntax highlighting. So I was looking at the best way to do that. And we're using the app router, of course. So jump into the MDX. And they do talk about here that we can provide remark and rehype plugins. And I don't know the best one that we're going to use here. Some headless CMS for blogs. Yeah, Shiroz, we talked about this a little bit last time, where headless CMSs are excellent, and there's some great ones out there. But because it's only me hacking on this, I don't need like the collaboration aspect of a headless CMS, right? And so instead of like bringing in another service and pulling in the content from the headless CMS, I'm just creating the text files in the repo, and then it builds, and we have a static build, right, at build time for all of those files. So I think that's most useful when you have other people you're working with, especially when you have like editors or writers that are not developers. So the second you're kind of interacting with other people like that, people who aren't going to be super familiar with code and Git and like checking things in and editing stuff on GitHub, then using a headless CMS is a really good place to be. However, I don't have those limitations. So instead of bringing in another service, I'm keeping it as simple as possible. So hopefully I have fewer dependencies and fewer things that can go wrong. So in our next configuration, we need to do a couple things here. First of all, the remark and rehype ecosystem is ESM only. So we need to do m.js as our configuration file here. So let's go ahead and change that and then restart our dev server and see what breaks. Vitz, good to see you as well, my friend. How are you? Requires not defined. You can use import now. Okay, so now instead of doing this, we can go back and we can fix our imports. let's see, this is create MDX with MDX. So I think we can just copy all of this and then remove what we need. So let's see, they have a next config with MDX next config. So we want to keep our experimental stuff here. And we can delete that here. And then this has remark, but I don't need to use GitHub flavored right now. So we can look at remark and rehype. And I've played with remark a little bit, but I haven't actually done anything with rehype. So if anyone in chat has a really, really good syntax highlighter, let me know. Otherwise, we're just going to go do some exploring here. So remark syntax highlighting. This uses Prism, it looks like. Remark highlight. Legacy plugin. Please use rehype highlight instead. Okay, well, guess we'll check out rehype highlight. All right, what do we got here? Rehype, syntax highlighting. What is remark? So remark is like the lower level library and level for transforming Markdown into HTML. And so we're basically like dropping down a level in terms of like APIs to go to a lower level API that can inject and change the transformers that change the Markdown into our HTML at the end of the day. So let's check out this. Prettier node. Okay. Seems fine. So rehype looks like what we kind of want. What is this? Rehype plugin, syntax highlighting, pretty fast, good highlighter, bunch of languages, bunch by default. Okay, seems right. When should I use this? Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. So new to TypeScript, next.js, and I think you're really good at it. Recommendations or advice to get better. Colo, practice and build. I think knowing how you learn and you teach yourself is important, right? So for me, I learn best by doing something. I pick something I want to achieve, and then I just bang my head on it until I kind of get it working. And that's, for me, that's the best way to learn. Like I prefer to do that over like reading a tutorial or reading a blog. I'll use those things and I'll watch videos and I'll read stuff to accomplish my goal, but I need to have a goal in mind to be like, this is what I want to do. So like a good example would be, I want to, one build per week makes you better day by day, right? Just practice. Like I want to build a personal portfolio website, right? Get my name on there, get like a couple articles on there. And if that's your goal, then you can start figuring out like what the gaps are to achieve that goal. Okay, so they have the whole rehype data use rehype highlight. So I think we can just take this and chuck it in here, right? So we can do a rehype plugin like this and see what we get. This is kind of what they did here in the docs, right? Where they just remark, they just import it and try it. We're not using the provider right now, so I don't need that. So we'll see how this works. All right, so save and run our dev server. Nice, thanks, no problem. I mean, good luck. I think it's a great place to be. I think TypeScript's the best way to write JavaScript, 100%. And I think Next.js is a fantastic framework for building stuff out. Okay, let's see if this exploded, friends. And if it just like magically works, or if we have to do some additional work to make this happen. Okay, I do not see any syntax highlighting, so it didn't just work. We do have it tagged language.js, right? This was tagged correctly. So we have our code block and our pre-block, but it didn't syntax highlight it. So here's this, right? Say we have the following file. That's exactly kind of what ours look like. And so we're using rehype. We did that here with MDX, and we're exporting it with our configuration with that. So that seems correct. We have some options we can do. Whether to detect on code without a language class. I don't know if we need this because we do have the language class, right? We have, this example had language JS and ours also has language JS, so you would think that would work. Come back here. This code won't be detected because detect is false. Example. Okay. Okay, well, rehype highlight, next.js. Let's see if we're doing something a little silly here. This all seems fine. Maybe the class name is wrong. Maybe it's just should be JS instead of, this doesn't look like what we want. This is exactly what it is, right? Okay, here we go. We're not seeing anything in our logs. Metabase is not set for resolving open graphs using, okay, whatever, should be fine. Rehype highlight. So this is just how to import remark. Specifically, they were asking about remark GFM. Right, but before we came from how to use, right, they want, but I installed when I added the code. It's not working. They selected it as the answer though. We're doing the MJS, we did that. Let's restart our dev server again, right? Next MJS, yep. Okay. And then you import it, and then they did remark, which sure, GitHub flavored markdown, right? I don't think we need the page extensions. Did I delete that in my... No, right, this is basically the same. We just have experimental, that was the only thing in it. Hello, welcome. More. Welcome to the channel. If you're watching, I hope you're having a good time. We're fighting with poor documentation, as we normally do in this entire experiment. Maybe we need this extensions. No. All right, friends. I also tried to use import rehighlight, but it didn't work. It's like, okay. Okay. This is exactly what we're doing. Try this. See if Stack Overflow has anything. Do we need to add some CSS? I didn't see any updates in our DOM, which made me question that we needed to do anything. Do I need to install something else? What do we got here? What is this? Install. We did that. We did this. It's amazing. Looks good. See, what we're looking for, right, is in the code, they basically add in a bunch of spans and everything, which like has the various highlighting that we want for all the tokens in the code. So I do like we're not even getting that. So here's our refresh. You would think it would be easy. You would hope it would be easy. So our pre and our code, this isn't doing what we want at all. So the other thing to take a look at is we have this use MDX components, which I don't think we've done anything to need to change that. Well, looks like it's just not going to work, friends. We'll come back to this later. Languages, plain text, ignore missing, detect, whether to detect the, I guess we can set detect to false maybe and see if that does anything. Do we need to call it? Refresh. Might need to restart our dev server. Give it one more go here. What is MDX? Yeah, so start of the first session today. Welcome. So Markdown, right? If you know what Markdown is. Markdown is a fantastic little text language where you can basically write in plain text and it turns it into HTML. And the idea is that when you're like writing Markdown, it looks and feels kind of like what it's going to look like when it is rendered and changed into a different format. So when we have a blog post written in Markdown, you basically, so here's the how to install FFmpeg blog post, right? You just write text. I'll turn on the word wrap. You just write text. And then this is like a code block. And so you denote that with like the 3 ticks. And then you have the code inside. You can have like, right, you can have like bullet lists, hello. You can have number lists, like it's just plain text. And the idea is that you're writing something that is very easy to read, even if it hasn't been rendered. And so Markdown is kind of like what we're looking at here. Typically it's a .md file, and then you can render the Markdown and turn it into HTML very, very easily. So it's very common to, take that Markdown and turn it into something that looks really, really good with HTML. So that's Markdown. MDX is an extension to Markdown, where in addition to just being able to write good old plain text and stuff, you can also import and export code, specifically React components. So in an MDX file, you can pull in a component and have it inline. So you could be like, call it like a dice if you had like a dice component or something. Or you could be like, I have a game component. I want to have like a mini game, right? And then you can just like import the game. You can just use it. And then when it's rendered, that component will actually be rendered as that React component. So it's very, very, very powerful. And it's basically just a more powerful version of Markdown that includes the ability to like drop in code where you want it to be. And so next.js has built in the ability to render Markdown and to render MDX content. So like getting started is just like all you have to do is install these packages, and then you do some configuration, and then you're good to go. you can just have pages that are markdown pages, which is great until you want to try something a little more complicated, and it just doesn't work. So we're trying to basically add in additional plugins so that when the markdown is rendered, it looks better. Will you add copy button in top of code block? I think that would be excellent, right? Because then you could just like click the button and have it work. So I would love to do that, but I kind of wanted the syntax highlighting to work first, right? So like you could click the button here to copy brew install, but I wanted it to be like syntax highlighted. Hello, Eduardo, welcome. Hope you're doing well today, my friend. Anything exciting going on? We are trying to get rehyped work, and people have marked this as like an answer, and it's just not working at all. So I think we're going to bail from this concept actually for the time being, because if it was this easy, we would do it. If it's not this easy, like I'm just gonna have to go and debug the living crap out of this to be like, what exactly is happening, right? So like this is one of those things where like our MDX components, we can look at like what's being passed in here and see if that's like doing something with it. We'll just do a quick test to see what the components are. Components are undefined being passed in, which you would actually break the spread operator, I think. So that's a little weird if I like do a refresh. Components are undefined. You can't spread undefined, so okay. I guess this is being called though. Use MDX components, so something's happening here. But it allows us to like override certain things if we wanted to. So we could do like pre and return children console.log what. Kind of see what's going on here. Right, here's our language bash children ffmpeg version. So like you can kind of like it's calling this stuff, but it's, I don't know if any of this is helpful. I wonder what happens if we just delete this entire thing. I'm pretty sure I committed right before I changed any of this, so let's just delete this file and see if that's doing something here. So restart the dev server, or if we need the file, right? Maybe we need that. Who knows? We do. I guess without it, when we pull in the MDX content, it looks like it needs that. All right. Git reset hard head. Delete everything. And restart the dev server. You tried rehype plugin. Yeah, that was just what we were trying, and it just, right here, right? The rehype plugin. This just didn't work at all in next.js. So I don't quite know exactly what's happening unless like I don't, like, do I need to install Lowlight as well and I didn't install Lowlight? This package wraps highlight. It's like, did we have to install both of these? But the install usage here didn't say to install the other thing. So it just said import, rehype, highlight, and then it would work. And it didn't. So I wonder if there's anything here for just like a next.js issue. No. So we didn't install highlight, but I didn't think I had to, but right, because rehype here, does it just dependencies? It has a dependency on Lowlight itself, right? So if it has a dependency on Lowlight, it's installing Lowlight. And it looks like low light doesn't need you to like import any specific CSS. So does not inject CSS for syntax highlighting code. If you're in a browser, you can use any, for example. Do we need like a theme? What extension are you using in your terminal to get that list of commands? So this is, this is just doing Control R, and I have it set up to fuzzy find. So Control R is a reverse search for commands, which allows you to like go back through all the commands that you have, which is very useful. Will you add copy button? Hello. Yeah. So the only thing I'm thinking of, but no, that's not the thing that's breaking, because we looked at our DOM, and our DOM didn't actually have, it wasn't updated with like the actual syntax tree and stuff. So all right, we're just gonna forget that. We're gonna forget that we ever wanted syntax highlighting, and we will try again later. I might ask a couple of questions on the Vercel discussion board to be like, this doesn't work the way we thought it would. Okay, so let's see here. That is not going to work. So instead of spending time doing that, let's go ahead and spend a little time building out the RSS feed. And hopefully this is going to be a little more straightforward. So on like my website, right, there is, I believe, /RSS that you can just add to any of like the places, and it gives you this RSS feed, right? And so an RSS feed is going to have, basically the entire thing is just a list of items, and the item has like a title, a description, and a picture, mostly media content as like the important stuff. And so this here is what we want for our blog, because if anyone wants to use an RSS reader, they can, but also we're going to use our own RSS feed for some automation in a little bit. So did a little searching around, and there's a couple ways we can do it, but I think the best way here is using the feed package, which basically creates a feed, an RSS Atom JSON feed generator, right? And so this is what we're going to use to build the RSS feed for our thing. And so it's pretty straightforward. It's where we just create this new feed, and then for each of the posts that we want, we will add it as an item, and then we can do feed RSS and Atom and JSON. So that's like how we're going to output it, right? And so this person here, for their blog, basically just does each of these. We're not going to do locales for now, since we're just doing this in English, and we have to basically spit it out. Let's see, what do they do? That's interesting. They put it like in their build, but I don't think we want to do that. We're just going to make it into a page, right? So let's see if LogRocket has anything slightly different. Here's our feed options. This is fine. They're using the RSS package. Curious if that's going to be any better. Let's see, 76,000 downloads versus the feed package. This has a lot more downloads, although it hasn't been updated in a while. So keep that in mind. Hello, Jean Pierre, welcome. If you're watching, hello. If you're catching up or seeing just some other content, hope you enjoy the channel. Thank you for subscribing. I don't think I have a strong opinion here about like which one to do. These look like very, very similar APIs basically. So I basically just want to figure out how they end up writing it to the public RSS and then get static props on our blog index. They do like RSS XML. So when I'm playing around with this sort of thing, I like to kind of see what people do to solve this problem, right? So like add an RSS, explode your possible solutions, expand your solution space, and then kind of pick the path you want to go down. So I know like they have stuff for like a sitemap, right? And so like add or generate a sitemap XML. And so one of the things I'm thinking of is like, this does end in .xml. So like, do you want that or do you want just like /RSS? I don't think it matters too much. So I think like /blog/RSS would be pretty good. And then when we're returning the content, we just want to make sure we're returning it as XML, right? XML content. Sorry, it's my dog. She's barking. So we also will do this generating the sitemap. All right, so what we can do here is let's just pick one of these packages. We'll go with the more popular one. We'll go with the feed. So let's go ahead and add it. And then we will do dev. We'll probably do a little refactoring here. So in our app folder, it's not going to be an API, right? It's going to be a subset of blog. And so we're going to make a new file. We'll call it RSS. And then instead of it being a page, right? Because a page is going to render as an HTML page, we want it to be an XML. So we're going to do a route instead. And so here we can export async function get, and I don't think the request is going to matter. And so this is it's gonna be like an API. It's an API, right? And the API returns XML. And that's how we're going to make this happen. So let's go ahead and pull in, that did not copy the way we want it to. Here we go. So pull this in. We have a whole bunch of stuff here, although I don't think most of this is super important. This is going to be, right, the static feed. So we'll do, not the daily digest. What did I call my own blog? The data dispatch. Right, so and we'll do like by recast as the description. So it looks like this is, we'll do recastfile.com. We can make these recastfile.com/blog. Language, English, that's fine. We don't have an image. We have a favicon, I guess. Recast file. We're doing the production version. And I think it's, honestly, I don't know. I think it's actually the icon file, right? So if you go check out our production head, then yeah, it's icon.png as our favicon. I don't need this. I guess I do need this. Updated default is today. We can add in some content for that. Generator, awesome. Default, sure. Feed links, hope I don't need that. And then author, we'll just put me in, Can I do like just my name? Cool. So now we have our basic feed set up. And in theory now, we're going to want to return this, right? So return a next response. We can import that. And this is going to be feed dot like RSS2. And so that should be a giant string. And then headers, and we want the content type to be XML, which we will have to set ourselves. So content type XML. Text XML, application XML. If we look at like my blog, RSX, just curious what the response is, right? You can just like look at the network request and see what they're using. Request headers, response headers. Doesn't have a content type. Okay, that's fine. We'll do application XML. Maybe we don't even need this. So we should get something now if we go to blog RSS. Let's see what we have. So this is Recast. RSS. All right, awesome. Our RSS feed is starting to work already. So go back to look at the API real quick. So they have a for feed.add item is basically what we want to do. And for each post, we're going to add this in. We have authors. I don't need contributors and a date and image. So let's grab this. And this is going to be built at build time. So in theory, we can just do that all. Well, it'll just run. So we'll do this here, right? And so here we can just paste that in for right now. And then we're going to go take a quick look at our page, because this has the function somewhere for getting all of our posts. And then here we're getting the metadata from them, and then we sort them. So this is what we want for our blog, but instead of just copying and pasting it everywhere, let's go ahead and add it actually to the lib blog. So export const get blog posts. And then what we did is we had this post type, which was slightly different. So we'll just bring that here as well and export it. So a post has a date as a date, and this is useful because we want to be able to sort them, right? And it also has the href, which is also going to be useful here. So this should be good. Let's go ahead and just import everything we need to make this happen. So we're going to read in all of the posts from the log, from the current directory. And then when we map them, we're going to pull out the metadata, and then we're going to add in the date as a date object, and we're going to add in the href, which is going to be basically just the file name, right? That's the slug. And then we're going to sort them. So what we're returning is going to be sorted. So the earliest, the newest thing is on top as the first object. So get blog posts does that. So in our RSS feed, we can do get posts, and we can just call this function. And then we can say for const post of posts. Await it, so it's asynchronous. Then we will call this. And I would prefer normally to like map this, but because the API, there might be like a feed add items. They just have add item, right? There's no like add 10 items at once. So we'll just call this for each one. It's a little more less functional, but it's fine. So here we'll do href. Here I think we need to make sure this is canonical. Right, and so recastfile.com/blog, and then we're going to have the post.href. And this will be the excerpt. We actually don't have the full content, so we're just going to do the excerpt again itself. Oh, if we're going to use the excerpt for all this, we're probably going to have to make sure that is created dynamically as well. The author. Here we can do post.author.name. Hopefully we can get rid of that. I don't actually have a link to like the author, so to speak, although you could probably do like Twitter or LinkedIn if you wanted to. And then the post date and the post image. So we're going to add these all. So now if we refresh this, we need to fix our chain, which does not need to be this deep because we moved this file. We can do that. Restart. Okay, let's see. Invalid URL from our feed thing. So one of these is invalid. I didn't even think it would. Oh, this is also blog, not blob. So maybe this is, let's do link, bring that out. We can do link here and do link here. These are the only invalid URL again. Oh, the input is, oh, this is the image, I believe. Okay, so the image also needs to be the full path. So you can probably change that in the metadata, but it's nice to be able to test this locally sometimes. Okay, here we go. Below is a rendering of the first page up to the error. Expecting this data dispatch, so we can see we have some data in here, and I guess it's not rendering out something. So if I get rid of like these two, does that fix this error? No. So let's do a sanity check here. I'm a little amazed that this library would allow me to create like invalid XML. Not a great look for this library. So we're adding an item which has a title, link description, author, date, and image. And we refresh, and the page contains error on line 19. Is this returning? So let's go ahead and, geez, Louise. So we can just curl it directly. And pipe it into Vim. And Chrome saying on line 19, the enclosure, recast, okay, so there are two slashes here, but I wouldn't think that would exactly break it. And then it's a type image API OG, that's also not right. I thought the only objective of SaaS was to convert file types. Why is there a blog now? The objective, Jake, is to sell the product. The ultimate goal is to sell the SaaS. And so if we only focus on building the product, then you're not going to build a successful like business on top of that, right? So instead of just being like, okay, you can do file conversions, great, cool. You now need to get people to go to the site to do file conversions. And that's going to make your product so much more valuable. So if you just build something technically, you're basically trying to sell the code or the idea, which generally doesn't give you a very high return. But if you can actually turn it into a business, if you can actually get people using your product, right? Then someone who's looking to buy it will be like, oh, okay, this is, definitely something that I can look at and I want to buy because people are using it. And if a lot of people are using it, there's a lot of ways you can like increase money from it. So we're actually going through and like adding in content in the blog to drive more traffic to our site to do conversions. So that's the goal. So let's go through and try and fix these little errors. Okay, so this is going to fix some of this. That's going to fix that thing, which is not apparently the true problem. Right, so line 19. So now this is correct, but then the type, I guess, is just / API OG, which is not correct, but I wouldn't actually column 112, right? I wouldn't expect that to break. So what's 112 here? Like the equal sign? Is that what's breaking this? The author equals... That's what it's saying, right? Line 19. Entity ref expecting that. That is bizarre. So if we just get rid of the image entirely, does this work? So the image is actually breaking this, which is annoying because we're dynamically creating the images. So all the images on our blog are being dynamically created. And I want to just like pass in that image URL instead of needing to do anything. But I guess like if we base 60 for it, does that work? Do you plan to drive traffic to the blog? I plan to post the blog posts and stuff on social media and the accounts for the service, and also do some like other marketing sort of posts. So drive more traffic to the blog, to drive more traffic to the site, to hopefully get more people doing more conversions, to make the service more valuable. Maybe we can do this. And see if that's going to make this happy. Nope, did not like that. Come back. All right. Well, the simplest way to resolve this is just going to be to not have the image, which is going to make our RSS thing a little worse, but we'll come back and fix that. Okay, so yeah, no problem, Jake. I mean, fundamentally this series, the idea behind it is to like sell the SaaS, and if we can drive more traffic to it, we'll be able to command a higher price, right? So I have some analytics set up. Let's pull up the right site. Right, so here we have our analytics for Recast. So for the last 7 days. So far, we've had 73 visitors with 144 views. And goodness knows how many of these are me testing this out. And so what we want to do is just drive this up, right? And so we want more people on the blog. We want more hooks on the blog to like run a conversion. Look how easy it is, stuff like that. And then we want to be able to drive people to it. And the blog content's like relatively straightforward, but it's potentially still useful. So someone's going to it's not hard to imagine someone being like, how to install FFmpeg on Mac, right? Like, that is a very common thing for people to Google, and then they're gonna scroll down, they're gonna be like, how do I do this? And we want our page here to show up, and so you don't make that happen overnight, but you just start creating content and increase your domain authority and, get more people to go to your site, and you eventually rise up on these ranks, and that's going to just over time drive more people to the service. Okay, so we have an RSS feed now, and our RSS feed, this is my blog, our RSS feed has like introducing, how to install, and the test. So this is basic, but it works. So let's see, we did libblog refactor. So to continue refactoring this, we need to go back here and pull in the type that we moved out of this. And now this entire thing, const posts, can just be await get blog posts, right? We don't need this entire thing anymore. And so now let's just make sure this didn't catastrophically break anything. If we go to our blog, okay, here is our blog, and we have our posts, and we can click it, and we can refresh. This entire thing should be a link. Oh, is this my sticky top, which is over. Oh, that's what the bug was. I can't click here, but I can click down here because this actually does go over it. So if I do like Z, if I remove this, then we go over that. Oh, this is gonna be tricky. Okay, minor bug, we'll fix. This all looks good though. So this should all be working. So now we can add this feature, add RSS feed, and we can push. Perfect. So what we want to do now is let's see if I can find it. I have I wonder if I can actually more settings. God, Twitter is so bad. Okay. See if we can do this. Something went wrong. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm trying to change my Twitter username briefly. And I can't believe how hard Twitter makes anything. That's like the thing that blows my mind. Like, have you ever signed up for Twitter recently to like actually try and do anything? Like, there are so many captchas and blocks, and it's just absolutely insane how hard it is to do anything on Twitter. Okay, so I made a Twitter account for Recast. Recast file. So we have Recast file. We have Recast file. Excellent. We currently are not following anybody, and we currently have 0 followers. So, me. We're gonna follow me. So now I have at least one more follower. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I just like no wonder no one uses Twitter. Like the absolutely number of insane things you have to jump through to just like do the stupidest, simplest stuff is insane. Like, it shouldn't be this hard. Oh, I have to do this again? Like, no. Oh my God. Pick one square that shows two identical objects. This one. How many times? Like, are you gonna unlock it? Hello? Hello? Can I continue? Like, can I use the product? God. So insanely stupid. Anyways, so the point is we have a Twitter account for the company, right? This is the thing that someone, when they bought Recast, they gained the Twitter account. So more followers means more good things. And so what we want to do is when we post any content to like the blog here for Recast, then it will also automatically post to our Twitter account. So to do that, what I wanted to try was going to be trying to use Zapier, which I guess I'll pop open a new tab over here, which I have not used ever before, right? But in terms of like stuff here, thank you, Achaya, thank you. I think you deserve a special prize for that. Yeah, no, I got the notification. There is one follower. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. So looking at like Twitter automations, right? So this is all like falls under the growth hack thing, right? You need a product that does something, but then you need to drive people to it. And so we want to basically say like, okay, RSS, right? So when this one, right? When you post an RSS, then you're going to tweet new things. Oh, it's premium? Oh, I don't want to pay for it. How much does this cost? This is the idea, right? Triggered on a schedule every, whatever, 15 minutes. I have no idea how much this stuff might even cost, but the goal would be to do all this for as free as possible, instead of having to like pay any sort of money, at least to start. I don't even know if this is going to be like a really, really, really premium apps. Okay, so some of these apps, I guess, are premium. Maybe we'll want to use something else. Is Twitter a premium app? Twitter looks like a premium app. Is RSS a premium app? RSS is not a premium app. So ideally, we would do things like with Facebook as well. This maybe is premium. Maybe there's another service we can do that is not premium. You got to spend money to make money. You're not wrong. We did buy the domain name, right? So we've already spent a little bit of money here. So maybe we just spend a little money and write it off as an expense. So let's go ahead and sign up and do this. Let's see. I wonder if I need to. I think I can just do recast file, which is now something that works. So, and then we want it to be associated with this domain, right? So if someone were actually to buy this, they would get this. So let's go ahead and create a new login for Zapier on 1Password. And this is that. We'll just create a new password, and it's going to be ridiculous. 60 characters seems good. Cool. All right. I have not signed up for this service before. We're small. Don't worry about it. How do I say owner? Look, I'm the best. What apps do you use? Skip. I don't want recommendations. All right. So we want to connect RSS to Twitter. Right? So when a new item in the feed appears, then create a tweet. Try it. All right. Look at this fun interface. I kind of want to actually build an interface like this for our transformers and our converters. So we can take some inspiration from this. Visualize your zaps. Okay. New item in feed. I would imagine, yeah, it needs my feed URL, right? So now we can go to, we just pushed this. So here we're on production, we can go to blog, and we should be able to go to just RSS, right? So here's our perfect new feed. So we can just enter the feed URL here. We don't need a username and password and a different GUID or URL. That should be fine looking at, right? So it's going to pull the item title and this thing, and this is gonna be fine because this will be unique. So that's perfect. So continue. We'll find a recent item to make sure, okay, we can test the trigger. This seems, oh, new item feed B. Yeah, that seems fine. Continue, so this is our latest one, right? Okay, so then we can connect to Twitter. Let's see how many times we have to authenticate to Twitter. Okay, click yes. Okay, what account is this? Okay, this is Recast, authorize. Okay, that seemed to have worked. Okay, that is the correct Twitter account. Okay, continue. Okay. So we can do the title, we can do a link, we can do the description. So I kind of want like the title, right? And then we want just like the description, which should be an excerpt. And then we want the link. That seems perfect. This should be the image, but our feed exploded with the image, which is slightly annoying. So let's just not do it for right now. We'll come back to it. Should shorten URLs. Yes, that's fine. Okay, continue. So now we can test this, right? How to install, discover. I guess I want spaces in between each of these. So how do I go back, right? I kind of want a little more breathing room. Here, here, here. That's good. Okay, continue. So then here's how it is. So we can test it. Okay. And so back on Twitter. Okay, it doesn't need to be that big. Calm down. We're in Recast, and I can go to my profile. Look at that. There we go. We have successfully zapped our way to automation. So now we basically have this entire thing like totally built. And we actually don't need the picture, right? Because we have this really nice like Twitter card for the link itself. So I don't think we actually want or need the picture. This is better. So that solves that problem really, really nicely. How to install FFmpeg on Mac OS, discover a step-by-step. Oh, this is so cool. So now we can just kind of see our entire content engine churn. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up each of these zaps so I can do publish, right? Woo! So goodness knows. Can I do multiple ones here? So like, can I have multiple actions? If I do edit zap. Wow, yeah. So if I do edit zap, can I do, no, I don't want to add a step. Delete, yes, yes. I want like multiple actions. But maybe that's just a new zap. I can name it. Name your zap. Is that the name of the zap? Wow. Okay, RSS. We'll just do RSS Twitter. Okay, cool, perfect. So all like when searching about everything that you're gonna have in the world, right? We would want. I guess we need to like get out of this. You have 14 days left. Yeah, so upgrade for as low as $50 a month. Wait, what? I thought it was much cheaper than that. Upgrade to Pro. Why would I want Pro? Give me the cheaper one. Manage plan. Whatever. This is important. Professional trial. Yeah, you can like change the plan, I guess, right? Yeah, so $50. We would probably just like do something cheaper. Until we needed it. So what we will do, and I don't need to do this on stream because you'll find this probably very boring, right? Is we have our Zap, but we basically want to connect everything to like Instagram, right? And Instagram for business. We want to do Facebook as well, most likely, in terms of just like getting things out there onto a platform that people are on. And then I could even see me, I guess, if I have time in my life, for making like YouTube videos for basically just running through the stuff that we're talking about on the RSS on our blog, right? So like, this is relatively straightforward how to install it, but it would be nice if there was like a very straightforward, quick YouTube tutorial for this as well. And it doesn't need to be me talking. I don't need to like look all pretty for the camera. It can just be my voice most likely, and like the video going through and watching it, and like not super hard to build out that sort of content. And then we can also like embed the YouTube video here if we want to, and really kind of like pull everything together. I mean, a huge part of just like getting people onto your site is just like getting content out there. So this is awesome. This is exactly where we want to be. And let's take a quick break. Evgeny, thank you for subscribing. If you're here, hope you're enjoying it. If not, hope to catch you around on the videos. Welcome. So that's our first Zap, which means this is our first automation. So the content will continue to go, and we should be good there. So we just need to basically write more content. We need to clean up this stuff, but that should be fine. What I want now is I want a footer. Because in terms of blog and starting to like get people to go to the blog, right? You're going to scroll to the bottom, and then there's just that's it. It just ends. Like there's no footer for our website, and so it just looks awful. So, hope I don't spill water on myself. We can create a footer, and that will round out a lot of what we need to do for like the blog side of things. And then of course it'll look better here on the homepage. We'll have an actual footer, and then we'll know with the footer kind of what pages we have to fill out to make the site have all like the required stuff, right? You need to just consider terms, privacy policies, things like that. So we need to actually think about that, and then we actually have to execute on it. Just lots and lots of small details, right, to get right. So we did the feed, and we want a sitemap as well. So sitemap also will help with SEO because it allows the crawlers to better find all the pages of the site. So let's go ahead and add a sitemap. So top level sitemap, and here we have kind of like all of the routes. So this is going to mostly just be a giant boring list, right? So recast file.com and recast file.com blog. And then we also want to pull in all of our blog pages here, right? And so Next.js says they want to add support for multiple sitemaps, but for right now they just have one sitemap. So we're just going to do the same thing that we kind of do on our RSS feed and toss this into our sitemap. So here, okay, I really hope this works. Okay, this should be fine. They don't explicitly say it right here. It returns a sitemap, so we like made it asynchronous, but I imagine it's okay that this can be asynchronous. Otherwise, like, geez, this would be insane. So we're just going to toss in, right, the posts, and we're just gonna map them here. And so we want the URL to be HTTPS, Recast. We don't need this. Recast file.com blog. And then this is going to be the post href. And then the last modified does not need to be when this was built, but it can be the post.date. So now we should have a sitemap for our website as well. Now, of course, we're gonna have to remember to update this. Perfect. So it's definitely gonna be one of those things that I can see, right, where we just like forget to add in the pages as we like build out our site. So that's gonna be something that I don't know the best way to do that, because like you have to like list these all. So feature add sitemap. Okay. So again, SEO, even better. Our blog post should have relatively good meta tags and everything. So now we can focus on building out, like I said, the footer. So let's jump into one of these. And I think we're just going to keep the footer to be like white, and we'll probably have a multi-column layout. I like to like browse around. So I have a Notion board. Where's Notion? So here's our content, but I have a design inspiration note, right, that just has in general websites that I think have like pretty good design. And so Mercury here is a banking startup that I think has really nice design. They have like their little blog, which you'll see I got inspiration from, The Bottom Line, which I think is a fantastic blog name. But if you just go to the bottom of their entire page, right, here is their footer. And so we don't have nearly as many links or anything. But what they do have, let's see how they organized this, is basically they have one column with like their name, and then the rest of this is their content. And they've turned this into a grid. And so we kind of have 1, 2, 3 columns in the grid with multiple things. So what are we going to have? We're going to have, at least to start, we're going to have a blog. We'll probably have like an about page, a frequently asked questions. We're going to have documentation for our API. We're going to have an API page. Like all this stuff is going to be built. We'll have a follow us, right? Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. So we don't have that much to start, right? So I wonder if they have, like, I don't see their privacy policy or terms of service, which is a little interesting. Most of the time people throw that down here. So I think we probably just want like, maybe a company section, a follow us section. The company section can have like the blog sort of thing, right? So, and besides that, it's like nice and airy and relatively well organized. And then if you make it responsive, right, you can kind of see, looks like they do 2 columns kind of at the minimum, and the text is fairly small, with the name at the top. Oh, here, that's interesting. They actually have like a medium-sized thing where the name is still at the top, and then they'll bump it out. All right. Google search, convert files results. 2.7 billion. Is yours already responsive? Most of the pages are responsive. Yes, Colo. So like the blog page, for example, you know, the top has this bar. This header is, you know, this title is responsive. This is responsive. The image is responsive here, right? And the content's all responsive. And it goes out to something that's, you know, relatively decent. So we just need to keep that going throughout the entire site, obviously. Same for like the homepage. You know, there's not tons of content that we have to move around, so it's like relatively easy to be responsive. But like if you select this and you go through this flow, you want this to be responsive as well, right? And so like there's a little work to do around the button, but otherwise we do a half decent job of keeping it responsive, but always more to do. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and build out a common component. We already have a header, so we'll just make a footer. So we're gonna borrow what we're doing on the header. So we have our logo. And let's see, we'll put this inside a div for now because I can imagine we're gonna want some extra styling around the entire thing. So Mercury here for their footer. They have some max width stuff, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really that crazy. So we're going to, the footer will stretch the entire width, and then inside it we can add our container. And so that should hold the content. And so here we can also add in our logo. And then we can think about like, right, the various sections and links. So to start, what is this going to look like? We want to have, let's see, we're gonna have 2 sections probably. And I'll do 2 of these for right now, although we'll probably change it, right? So here we can have like label. Is it called Twitter or do we call it X these days? How do we do this? And then we'll do the link, right? So recast file. And so if we have our logo here, and we'll add in the grid content, we'll have like 2 extra ones. And so here we can do, I don't know, like what do these people have? They just do a div. So this is going to be like, I don't know, call it about us or maybe company or something. And then we can do links. Whoops. Hey, Lucky Strike, welcome. So we're gonna skip that. We don't need any of this. and about jobs from the last contact. Those are all things we will have to end up building. I don't know why I don't get notifications when you. Yeah, I mean, I try not to do anything weird about it. I just like schedule it and then go live. But someone else mentioned that too. They were like, I just don't get notified. So I was like, I don't know if I had to do something extra. Maybe I need to like click a button somewhere to make that happen. So for our links here, this can be like, just do blog to start, right? That's the only one we have. And we can just do /blog. And then we can do socials. And we do the social. We only have one social account as of right now. l.href. So that's our link. So this is like the about section. And then we can toss this here and do social. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do now is go to our like highest level layout as much as possible, right? Now our main page, this just has the header embedded in it. And so, right, if we toss the footer in, we can start seeing what this looks like, which obviously needs some styling applied to it still. But you start to understand the idea. So probably just want tons more padding around our entire thing. They do, oh my God, so much padding. They have 100. Just like look at what 32 looks like, right? That's 128. That's pretty big. 28. Do you usually start around noon? I've been tweaking it a little bit, Lucky Strike, but I think going forwards, what I want to do is going to be like stream noon to 4 Eastern time, and that gives me chance to like get stuff done in the morning and then still have a little time before I end the day. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, and I just need to like commit to that schedule, right? And be like, this is what I do Tuesday, Thursday, here we go, and you know, don't let really anything get in my way there. I've been historically a little bad about that. All right, so we basically now want this to just kind of look a little bit better. So we have the logo in its own little section above it, which is probably fine, right? Let's kind of think about what this looks like. Whoa, here. So here we're gonna want it definitely in its own section. And then on larger screens, we can probably do what Mercury does and move it to the side, but honestly, just above it is going to be, I think, just fine. So let's just give this a little more breathing room. We can probably cut this down to like here and give this a little more on both sides. And then we want these to be in columns, right? And so we can mostly probably just use a grid for this entire section here. Grid calls 2 and break it out, right? So you have about, which is one section, and so we want all of this, right, to be inside here instead of that being one grid. Hello. Did not do what I wanted it to do. Great. I love it when it breaks. Okay. Oh, we need to move that out. That's why. Like that. Okay, so now we have 2 columns on small screens. We have about. So this will be like, right, our little title. So, I don't know. Hey, Dad Bod, welcome. How are you doing? We're building our footer. And then let's do text neutral. Like, let's make this entire thing kind of lighter. Text neutral 700. It's brightened up. It's probably not even bright enough, honestly. Maybe like 600. Just doesn't need to be that. Should get the prettier plugin. Text. I think it's just uppercase, isn't it? Uppercase? Yeah, cool. So now we can do the same thing for this. And we can abstract these out into their own components once we kind of have a feel for what exactly we want. Twitter. Click Twitter. A little more spacing here, I think, is going to be good between these. So space Y2 might be a little aggressive. Okay, and then of course we need more on the bottom as well. So this entire thing probably should just be wrapped in like a all right, how are we doing? So when we have more links here, let's pretend for a second that we're actually social. Let's do like Twitter, YouTube, you know, which doesn't exist, Facebook, which gotta tell your parents how to convert files. And then, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok. Where are all the kids these days? Right, so you kind of have this. That could use a little more spacing as well. Space Y1, little breathing room. And each of these can just be links. So now, if you go to like our blog, go to our blog. We want to add in the footer component to the rest of the site. So obviously we kind of wanted to add it at a layout in various places, right? But our root layout right now is probably not where we want it, even though it's tempting to put it there, because then every page is going to have the exact same thing and pages can't opt out of it easily. So, and the homepage already does special stuff because it has like the drop zone that it wants around everything, right? So when you go to like drag and drop a file, you just like found, right? You want this to like consume the entire thing, even if you like even the drop zone, right? So there might be ways to get around it, and we can kind of work around that, but I generally don't like to do that too early on in a project, like totally monopolizing exactly what the structure of every page needs to look like. So our blog has, I think we'll just make a new layout here, right? So our blog right now, we have a page, and the page has the header in it. So let's go ahead and make a blog layout. And we can borrow from the sub page, and we don't need the title because we want the dynamic title. So here we're just going to borrow this, and then we can get rid of the header here. We want the dynamic title, which we're pulling in, so this should be fine. And then we have the main content defined in this. So here we can just pass through the children. So we'll do footer. And then just have the children, and the page can define its main body still for the blog layout. So we have the header, we have footer, we have the children, which means now here, you shouldn't need that header, right? So we're gonna have two. So we go to blog, we have two headers here, so we can get rid of our header here. Bum, 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 perfect. So now that's good. And I added tons of just like empty space here, so we can get rid of all this. So now we have the data dispatch, and we have our nice little footer, which, you know, doesn't have a ton of links in it because we don't have tons of pages. So let's see. We probably want to have about and contact us as well. Whoops, go away. Right, even though we don't have these pages yet, we probably should for launch. About, contact us, and we'll have like a contact page, and this can be about, right? So now we shouldn't have blog twice. There we go. So we want to make sure we have the spacing set up properly there. Okay, I think this is going to be relatively straightforward. Follow us, about, blog, contact, various social things here. Here's our blog. We're going to do a little more work, probably off stream, on cleaning this up, right? Maybe a couple different colors, changing the height of these images, and on mobile, it needs to be a little more responsive still. And there's also that particular bug. So now this also has the double header because we need to clean up that as well. So here we can go into, so this entire thing, right? This blog layout assumes the role of the parent layout. So if you just get rid of that header there, now you have this really nice thing. And so we have two titles. One of them is dynamic, but when you're on a blog page itself, this doesn't like change size or anything. It's just, it is the name. There's like this very small faint line here. Do you see this? Is that because like it needs to be one pixel higher here? So we have it 64. I think we want 64 there. I don't even know if anyone can see that. I saw it. There, that's nicer. Sweat the details, my friends. Sweat the details. So the dynamic one needs that as well. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's good. It is good. All right. Let's see. 2 o'clock. We're doing pretty well here. So now we have. Come on. Like, you know it's good. You know it's good. So our author could also be like you could click my name and go to like Twitter or something, perhaps. Okay, let's push this. We're in a really good spot here. Feature, footer, and CSS tweaks. Okay. So another big thing to get done now that our homepage kind of has a little more filled out is going to be filling out the rest of the homepage, which I don't really have a good idea of the content yet. It's basically going to say like how the conversion maybe works, or like what we can convert, you know, talk briefly about security and privacy and like how we delete files and stuff like that. And most other sites don't have a ton going on for like their homepage here, so I don't think we need to, at least to start. So that is our blog. What do we got? We don't need all these crazy things. We don't have an account yet. Blogs, events. A big thing is going to be the API, but I think that comes later. I think we get to a point where we're like, yes, this is good. Without an API that's public, obviously there's an API, but without a public API. And then we add in the public API as something that developers can tap into to also convert files or get information about files and data and stuff like that. So now that we have our content engine kind of down, I can sign up for the rest of the social accounts, and that kind of automates that entire process, which is fantastic. And I think that just comes back to now like finishing the homepage, which I'll think about, and making sure this whole file conversion thing works like flawlessly every single time is where we're at, and adding in more types, being able to convert anything to anything. So let's go ahead and see if we can tweak this experience a little bit. Still not exactly, I'm still not totally happy with all these minute details about the conversion experience. So we can close everything here, go to our homepage. Relatively straightforwards. Oh, I can't use my phone, can I? Let's open up the simulator. My phone's the camera, so I can't use my phone to test any of this. But we can open up the simulator, and I want to see if I fixed something that had been bothering me. So here's an iPhone simulator, and you can check responsiveness and stuff in Chrome or Firefox, right? That's not super hard, but you can't check like everything in those. So here's Recast. Okay, and now the padding here is much better than what it was before. And if you rotate it, right? When you rotate it, you want what we're doing is we've told the iPhone to make it full screen, but then you need to like handle the safe scroll areas, right? That's very important. And so this is pretty good. Obviously, we need a better transition there. But it doesn't scroll to the top. Is that a bug? I feel like that should scroll to the top, right? Okay, that's ideally a little bigger. But this is pretty good. This looks pretty good. And this looks pretty good. Right, and all this all lines up nicely. Yeah, all right. So that is pretty good. What we need to make sure of, right, the experience, and we'll do this in Chrome. It's like once you choose a file, I guess I don't have any files. Do I have an example picture? I do. Thank you. Right? This kind of all needs to be a little nicer. So this is what we want to make sure works halfway decently. So the name should be cut off. It shouldn't go that big. Pending is probably a little too big, and the convert to. This is a halfway decent experience, but I'm not sold on the entire thing. So we can move that to the side and do this in Chrome, which will be a little easier to manage, right? Select a file, and what we just saw, right, was I have testing somewhere, right? Testing. So one of the things we want to make sure is this is a long file name that is really long. So when you go and add a file, right, that happens. Okay, well, that's not good. And we also probably want to utilize our space here a little better. We have a lot of stuff like boom, 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 boom. So this outside container is good. We want that. But then the inside container, I think we actually don't want it to have anything if possible. Right, we just want the outside container to do all the work here. We're just losing too much horizontal space. So this is our file manager for all of this. Let's see if we can clean this up in a couple of ways to give us some better spacing for small screens, which, you know, I don't know exactly how often we're going to run into this sort of small screen thing. Man, the picture takes up a lot of space, doesn't it? So for the name, that's in our conversion list item. We want the entire name to truncate as necessary. So no wrap is what we want. And then overflow hidden text ellipses. Try that. It's just expanding the column. So here we have our grid and we're letting it be as flexible as possible, but we can't let it do that, right? We need it basically to cut down at a certain size. Right, and you can hard code it, but you kind of don't want to hard code it. You want it to be what do we want it to be? We want it to be like as much space as possible, but not push everything else out beyond, right? Beyond like the edge of the grid. And our convert to button that also needs to change. So this is shown for the popover, the dialog here. Convert to which format? Convert to, probably just want to say like format maybe. And probably want to do text small. Yeah, that's a little better. The button itself is still relatively large, which I think we can make smaller. So we can do size small, and then that should actually make the text small by default. So this entire thing is 100 pixels, but our button inside it is only 66. So we can now change our grid on the small side here to be, call it 67. So that's all a little nicer. So I want a grid column flux as big as possible without going over width. Auto max content. So auto and then max content. Largest maximum content distribution grid is occupying. Is that what we want? For both your columns. Max content, we'll set your first column to its max width, but never wider than 50%. Going deep into the grid, friends. How long can we stay here before we go insane? So instead of being flexible, right, we're saying min max we can try 0 max content. Ooh. 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 Select files. Okay, what do we got here? That's pretty good, huh? So now, with that column change, the second column will only be as large as like the content space allows it to be, even if the name is larger. And so we can then truncate the name. And I guess we just really just need some padding around this button now. The pending is, this badge probably needs to change a little bit, right? We all need like a little bit of breathing room. So maybe we can just add a little bit of gap. And that should do the right thing. Then we don't need actually padding at all around the image, right? Because we have gap now. So this is 48, so this entire thing can be exactly, how big is our picture here? 32 by 32. So if we just do 32 exactly, we still have, yeah, okay. And now this is last thing 50, and it doesn't need to be anymore. It can also be 32. Okay. Wow, it's a lot of very, very, very fine tweaking to make this work. So we'll just add in the same thing here. So we want 1 and then min max 0 max content. And this can be 32 as well. Oh, interesting. But like max content doesn't actually, right? That's max contents now. So do we want, oh God, is it 1 FR for this still? quite. So this grid here, min, max, max. Can we do this? No. It's not liking my nested. Okay, we're pretty close. I think that's an improvement if it's even not exactly what we want. But it works really, really well on mobile devices and very small formats, and then for larger ones, it's pretty good. Okay. So let's go ahead and commit this. Okay. So let's run through the entire experience. Convert to, we need more icons, obviously. PNG, convert, so uploading that size breaks. Right, the badge isn't big enough. So what if we just do the conversion upload percentage, and then done, and then download here, this button. Here's our download button. This is a next button. Let's change this. It really just needs to be like a link. Which I don't have, so I guess we'll leave it exactly where it is for right now. So on larger screens, right, we have, this doesn't look quite as good. So let's try this again. Convert to this, click convert. Okay, that's all pretty good. Done, download. Nice. Click it, download. So besides fixing that button, that is a good place to be. So I guess we probably just want to have more file types that we support. Right? We say anything to anything. This is not great either, but it works really well on smaller screens. So maybe we just add some padding back in on the larger screens, right? So basically here we want there to be, so anything like medium and above. Actually want it on the next thing too, right? Because we want to include that. So this guy. Okay. Convert to. So these are all the formats that we kind of, I haven't actually converted to this. Does this work? We should probably have a bunch of tests, which is probably where we're going very soon, to see what these conversions may or may not do, because we'll be adding and changing stuff. So, oh, that worked. That's exciting. Okay. Okay, so if we go to our converter now, we have our image converter, and this is using ImageMagick to do the conversion behind the scenes. We can build a converter basically for every single one. So from and to, these are all meme types. And then we do the conversion. So, oh gosh, probably just have one test file for this entire thing. Then we run it in Docker. So what we want, I think, is to, these are the formats that we currently are supporting. Let's do top 10 image formats. Oh God. JPEG, PNG, GIF, WebP, TIFF, BIMP, high efficiency image file format. SVG is going to be a little interesting. We do want to get PDFs in here at one point. Okay, well, that feels like it does a pretty good cross section of what we can support. So if I go to Postigo and look at our database real quick. SVG. So if we look at the current, anything with an error, right? What did people upload that failed? Most of these probably failed for goodness knows what reason, right? 2009 command failed. That I think should be fixed now. These should be fixed now. So people have uploaded, let's see here, spreadsheets, PDFs, and yeah, okay, that's PDF to GIF and spreadsheet to X icon. Okay, so ImageMagick, PDF to JPEG. Here's an interesting conundrum, right? Where if you're converting a PDF to JPEGs, are you expecting one JPEG, or are you expecting one JPEG per page? That's my question. So we can do this probably pretty easily for a PDF conversion. But this would only be like the first page, which obviously isn't ideal. This one does all the pages, but it does output, right? It's like I need a test PDF lying around. What do we have that's just a very random test PDF? I can just save any of these as a PDF, right? So we can just do like something from my blog. So we can just open this as preview and do file and export it as a PDF, and then we'll toss it into the testing directory and be like, blah, 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 blah. Test PDF, save. Perfect. So here we have this, so we can now just do test PDF. And interesting, it got rotated. So here, if we toss this in, right, we want to do the test PDF to just output pdf.jpg. Okay, so like, what did that do? Okay, now it's a JPEG. Can I look at like thumbnails here and have like multiple pages? So can I add this? No. Can I add this? Yes. Okay, so now we have 3 pages in test PDF, right? And so what happens if I run this again? What happens? Okay. Okay, so it does this automatically, which is, I guess, fine, but not entirely ideal when we're... This is one of those things which I thought a little about, but I don't actually have a good solution for. Where when we're doing file conversions and looking at converting various files, right? All of my kind of logic so far has been we're converting a single file to a single file. But that's not always going to be the case, right? We could convert a single file to multiple files. So you could have like a PDF splitter, which would take a single PDF and split it into a bunch of PDFs, one per page. And so then the output of this is no longer a single file or buffer. It's an array of files or an array of buffers. And so you probably want to actually just like, for the most part, right, be like, let's just accept and output an array of all of this stuff so you can always handle multiples. And so then if you have, let's say you have a transformer which like takes a text document and you want to split it up into one text document per paragraph, you could then easily do that and output all the various paragraphs. And then if you were to like save it, you could save them as, you know, like an individual text document per one. Or you could like run them all through DALL-E or Image Journey APIs and like generate a picture from every single paragraph. So if someone sent you, right? Someone sent you a like 20 prompts. Let's say like I want images for these like 20 prompts. You could be like, great, let me put it into Recast, split the prompts into 20 different little sections, and then run each of these through the Midjourney API, and then output the entire thing either and like download it as a zip, one for each image, or you could even just like automatically combine it back into a single PDF and then send that to whoever it was. Be like, here's your file, right? And you could build like a no-code flow to like do all this. So it's like Zapier, but for data, is kind of where we're going with this. Hello, welcome to the channel. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for subscribing. My dashboard is not loading. E-governance from... Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate every subscriber. So, that was a lot of talking to basically be like, we probably need to change our API here to allow you to do things like this. So if I have like, I'm kind of curious, right? Like if I go to like some other converter and I say, okay, well take my test PDF here, right? Like how do they handle this? I'm just curious, right? Where this PDF has 3 pages. So we upload it and I say, convert it to a PNG, right? So it's a PDF to a PNG. Convert. It's like, what happens? What happens? Download. Oh, see? It's a test.png.zip. And now it's a folder. And I have 3 PNG files. So it took the PDF and it converted each page into a PNG and then either combined it into a zip automatically, or that's just how you download it, right? You download it with, and it says there's 3 files here, so like I'll download it as a zip. There's no ability to change any of that, right? It's like, well, what if I wanted it to be 1 PNG? It's like, well, then I guess you could combine them all with image, like image magic again. I think there's a lot of fun possibilities here is what I'm getting at. And we want to allow the user eventually to be able to do all these things and experiment with it. And again, do crazy, crazy things. The memes will be amazing. So to start, what does that mean? If we're to support PDFs, then it means we need to consider our API in our code, because a PDF and a converter, this output is not going to be a single thing we're outputting anymore. It's now going to be multiple things that we're outputting. And if we're outputting multiple things, then our data structure doesn't necessarily make sense anymore, right? Our inputs and outputs always kind of just mapped to a single thing, but that's not necessarily the case. Now, an input or an output could map to multiple things, which means we probably need to reconsider all the way down to our conversion model. Which means we're going to delete our database. Okay, so we need to be able to support multiple things, I think is what it comes down to. Which means every conversion, right? Let's go back to Excalidraw. So here's our graph of chaos. Let's go over here and do something new. So you upload a PDF, and this entire thing can be a conversion, right? We can just do that here and make the text big. So this entire thing is a conversion, and we're going to send this to the back. So you upload a PDF as a conversion, and then you say, I want to change my PDF into a PNG. And so this is like a conversion, and PDF was uploaded, you know, and you said, give me the file type PNG, right? And so the file type PNG, but this will be now a stage, I think. I think we want this to be a stage, and we'll have conversion stages. So in this case, it's going to be one conversion stage. And so the file structure is going to be like conversions, and let's call it a UID, right? And then we're going to have stage 0. But we might have like many of these. You might have multiple stages. wonder if you like stage 0 could just be the initial .pdf, right? So we're going to upload it like here. And then, so that's like the first node. And then the output is going to be PDF to PNG, which we know is going to create multiple files. And so now this is going to be uuid.png, right? And so we're going to output, we're putting in one PDF, and then we're going to output multiple PNGs, but they're all going to be saved within this larger, conversion folder. And this is the second node. And so when we're saving this data structure, we now have a conversion object. And a conversion object has, let's call it stages. And each stage has like an artifact. And so something like this, I think, is our new data model. And these are all 0 to many, mostly 1 to many, right? So you create a single conversion, and the conversion, depending on how many hops we have, is going to have a certain number of stages, but it's going to have mostly 2 stages to start, since we're only going to do 1 hop. So stage 0 is going to be whatever you initially uploaded, and that's going to be, these will all need like a, I like having them in order. I think that makes the most sense. So we'll have like an index on them. So stage 0 will be created. Explain what is, hey Gamer Hunter, yeah. Those are different things. So SaaS in this context, SaaS, is software as a service. It's the idea that the code we're writing is something that is going to be hosted in the cloud, and users will access it through other means than like downloading it onto their computer. These days, most stuff is like a SaaS delivery of some form, although like you get hybrid stuff very easily with apps and things like that. But the idea is like you don't really need to like download something onto your computer and have that thing work. It's hosted for you, and you go to the site to use the service. Generally, these things are not single purchases. They're like recurring subscriptions, but that's not always the case. And the idea is really that like there's no burden on the user for setting it up. They just like go and they can start using it as a service. So it's software hosted as a service. And I don't know, 20 years ago, this was a revolutionary idea. Nowadays, it's just how a lot of software is built and delivered. But we're writing software in the cloud instead of writing stuff that people are going to like download. So we're providing it as a service, software as a service. The other SaaS you're thinking of is the, pseudo CSS language that can compile down to CSS and has a couple extra things. But these days, I don't really use SaaS myself. So this is kind of how it's going to go. So the first, we're going to create a conversion when someone uploads something. So that's going to be a conversion object. And then we're going to create the number of stages. That's going to be these hops. And so we're going to have this will be stages. And some of these key attributes is going to be, I'll call it like index, right? Which is going to be a number. And so we're going to have index like 0. Basically like nodes, which maybe conversion has nodes. Maybe nodes is better here almost, right? This maps to our graph. And so this will be like, what are you converting it to? So format, and it'll be like, oh, you're converting it to image.png, right? And so that's what the stage is. The first stage would be like, well, the format is image.pdf. The second one is or application PDF, whatever that is. And this is going to be image.png. So when we load this, we can be like, okay. And then this is going to have like what the current stage, I guess. Or maybe that can just be a property on the stage itself, right? Like current Boolean. And then the conversion can just have something to be like, I guess status would be that, and we already have that, right? So status is either like in progress or done, and when the last stage has been reached, then you're done. Probably should think a little bit about maybe how this works compared to Zapier, because like we're gonna kind of have a similar API at one point, except for data. So then the artifacts here are just going to basically map to keys. So this has the UUID for this. This is the stage 0, 1, 2. It can have its own ID, but we'll use this number instead, I think, because it'll be nicer to look at in the S3 structure. And then we're going to have the output, which are going to be the artifacts. And I guess maybe there's an order to that too, right? If I convert something, let's say a text document, and I split it like a Word document and split it up into pages, those pages do have an order, right? There's like a certain order you want them to be recorded in. So this probably has an order that you want it to be converted in. So we'll also have to be a little careful of that as well. Maybe just like an order number attribute on it. And so you can order them. So if you go to like download it, you can download them in a certain order. We can be like, you know, page 0, page 1, page 2. We can do that for the user. Yeah. So in which language you will continue this project, or just explain the proper prototype of this? So we're doing all of this basically in TypeScript, which is JavaScript, but with types. And I'm kind of doing some high-level thinking here, going through how we need to change our data structure to handle PDFs. This is like a big conversion. We want to be able to convert PDFs. People want to convert PDFs to a lot of stuff. Sometimes that's going to be converting a PDF into like a Word document, right? And that will be a 1-to-1 ratio, but sometimes it's a PDF not into a 1-to-1 ratio, and so we're going to want to be able to handle that. I wonder how you do PDF to like Word. Convert PDF to Word. Like, I think we use Pandoc for this, right? Or PDF to text. Python. Well, we're going to be having a lot of fun as we get deep into this. Anyways, so I think this is the new data structure that we're going to go with here, and this will allow us to convert multiple inputs at any stage into something else. So you could like upload 4 PDFs and convert them all to a single PDF, for example, using this, because then stage 0 will have all 4 PDFs and stage 1 will have the final PDF artifact, and the converter just needs to say like, okay, give me all the inputs, I will run this command, get a single output, and upload it. Welcome to the channel. I probably need to like move that subscription thing to be a little more visible, eh? Hello, Durany Tube. Welcome. If you're watching, hope you're enjoying it. It's a little chaotic today, but we're kind of just pushing forwards. And you know what? Sometimes software is just chaotic. All right. So we're going to change our entire database model, which means we're going to blow up a whole bunch of stuff, which means let's go ahead and make a branch for this, because I'll probably want to fix bugs in the meantime. So we'll do data model update. All right, there we go. So new branch, And let's go ahead and totally change this. So what we decided was we're going to have conversion, stages, and artifact. Let's just try that naming for right now. Model stage and model artifact. So this is going to have an ID, and the ID can be probably the name. That's probably fine, right? And then we can do order as an integer here. And so, no, I'm not. I just like colons. And then we'll have created that and updated that, right? And so this is the artifact. And so this allows us now to like save things to S3. The name of the artifact can just be the ID here. We'll have to figure out how we're deleting this stuff later if we want to like how we want to handle that. And then the order is going to be a required thing. It'll be set to whatever order these artifacts are saved in it. So when we fetch them later, we can put them in the correct order. Okay, so now we have a stage, and a stage now also has an index, and it has the format. So here, this kind of takes out some of this stuff here, right? So let's do an ID, and this is going to be a stage. And the stage here is going to have just the meme, right? And so now, instead of having a from meme and a to meme and a current meme, each of these can be removed from the conversion. The S3 key can be removed, and all of the memes can be removed. And we'll keep the status because when this is done, we know it's done. We'll keep the error because then we'll know that's the error, although maybe the error occurs in a stage too. Gamer Hunter, hey, thank you for that subscription. Glad you're here, hanging out, chatting. Feel free to ask more questions. Happy to kind of help and teach and, you know, push people in whatever direction they want. So an error, right, for a conversion was like what happens when something breaks. But now specifically, an error could occur potentially in a stage. Although maybe it doesn't really matter, right? If I have a conversion, I'm converting like 1 to 2, and then it has an error, and we save the error here. Do I need to know exactly like what stage or artifact? Maybe it's fine just keeping it here at the top level. Okay, and so now we have our stage where we have our memes, and now of course we have to tie all these things together, right? So an artifact has the stage it belongs to, so we can just do that. And so now this we can change. A stage will have the artifacts, right? We have a stage and we have a stage ID. This is gonna be awesome. Thanks, Shadiz. I honestly, working and building stuff out is so funny, because like you start with something and you just kind of work at it for a while, and you bounce between like, this is gonna be awesome, and you like, this is stupid, or it's hard, and now you're stuck doing something hard, right? So, but just now, like kind of working through this problem, you know, you're like, oh, there's a lot of transformations we can do to the data as we're changing it, which means we can give people potentially a lot of power here. And I feel like we're just starting to get started with like the amount of stuff we can do with a very simple file conversion service, but really allowing people to like manipulate data in a powerful way. So we'll see. We'll see. I am, what is it, cautiously optimistic that this will be something pretty cool. Like we're just barely getting started. This is like the MVP of MVPs, right? You need to be able to go to the site and convert stuff and have that work well. So now we're making it work well. So a stage, file manipulation from scratch and going to deal with binary data. How we do that? Gamer Hunter, that's a great question. We are not going to do file manipulation from scratch, because that is a very deep and a very complex topic, and we want to be able to convert anything to anything, which means we need to support a lot of file formats. So we're going to be leveraging open source tools that handle the file conversions very, very well. And we're going to install these on our service and we're going to use them. And we're basically going to say like, oh, if you want to convert like a MP3 into an MP4 file, like, yes, here's how you can do it. You can install FFmpeg and you can run it through FFmpeg and you can do it that way. Or you can just use our website, right? Like there are alternatives to do it. And we've installed FFmpeg and will do it for you. So we are not going to be doing all of the file manipulation ourselves. We're going to use a bunch of great tools to do that. And the first one we're doing is ImageMagick, which is a great tool that does image conversion. So a stage has a conversion. And you just have to do that. And voila, it's all there. And so now this has stages, plural. So a conversion now has stages. And it always has stages of some kind. They're not, it's not really going to be optional. But the user and the tenant is still all optional this year. So now this data model feels a lot cleaner, to be honest. So let's go ahead and delete the migration folder. We're going to stop our converter. We got to like blow everything up here. Everything gets blown up. We're going to stop our Docker image. We're going to recreate our Docker database. We're going to rename our Docker database because now it's called Recast. So now we have a whole bunch of new stuff. We're going to jump into our environment file and change it here from converter to Recast. And now we can recreate Prisma migrate, our brand new migration. So we have no path of migrating like our production database from what it was to where it is. We're not even going to try that. We're so alpha that we're just going to delete the entire database and restart in production. So the joys of having a very early stage service means like we don't care about any of this stuff, right? Just move forwards as fast as you can. Okay, so our Prisma client now has been updated, which means everything is going to be broken. So let's go here and refresh and start fixing all of these logic errors in our code, right? So I need to zoom out a little bit here because I need to consume this entire file. So this is our converter, and we need to change the converter interface. So instead of being a buffer, we're going to have an array of buffers, and it's going to return an array of buffers, right? So our converter interface now takes in as many inputs as needed and outputs as many inputs as expected. A lot of times this will be 1 and 1, but now we can have multiples. So we can input a single PDF and output multiple images. And these are meme types, and so that can just stay the same. So now we go to our image converter, and this says it's converter, but it's not, because this needs to be buffs, right? And so for the image converter right now, to make this kind of work as it did before, right, we can just say, take the first one. And then we're going to return that's an array of promised buffers. Okay, so that should be pretty close. Promise buffer. Promise buffer takes in a promise buffer. Oh, we need to await this, that's why. Okay. So now our converter does it, but we're going to need to make it more robust in the future, right? So we're basically just saying we're expecting multiple buffers, but we're only going to take the first one. But that's not going to be totally true. And this command is probably going to get much more complicated as well. But for right now, that's all we're expecting, so it should work. We also don't allow you so far to upload multiple files to go into the same conversion. We will at one point, but not right now. Okay, perfect. So now we can change this. So the convert, we have a bunch of logging here to kind of convert for us. We have a conversion, but what we're gonna wanna do, right, so we're finding all the conversions we call convert conversions we're finding, but we want to include, right? So now we want to include stages, and we want to include the artifacts. So this conversion now has all of the stages and has all of the artifacts in it. And the artifacts have an ID, and so we can use that ID. So instead of downloading, again, we're gonna have to make this a little more robust, right? But now the key to download it, the bucket stays the same, but the key is gonna be like this. So we're gonna have to change the upload as well. So we'll do that in a second. So the key to downloading it from our S3 bucket is going to be /conversions, which is just a folder, which honestly we probably don't even need, right? What's the point of having it? Like the bucket itself is going to be the conversion bucket, so having a top level folder is probably just stupid. So this is going to be the conversion ID, which is a string, and this is going to be the stage, which will be 0, and this will be the conversion dot stages. Oh man, we need to take this. We need to take this type. How do I get this type from Prisma? Oh God, do you see this? Because this is the type that I need. So this is a conversion, but it's like a conversion with the stages, with the artifacts in it. Right? TypeScript knows what it is, but I need to know what it is. Prisma client get type with includes. Advanced type safety. Yes. Yes. Yeah, we know this. We know this. Okay. No. Oop. I need to go get my front door. I will be right back. I'm back. I literally had to move my car for people outside. All right. Where were we? Oh, right. Types. So this has the stages included, which we know because if we use it right down here, right, conversion of conversions, we could do conversion dot stages. Ask ChatGPT what the type is. I could try to do in terms of GPT, just be like, if I call Prisma with the include method, how can I get the type such that it has the additional properties I have included? So I can use it in a function def like this. All right, Jake, you win. Okay. So the idea is that we're now downloading something instead of just one random thing, right? We're downloading the conversion ID. In this case, we're just going to do stage 0. We're hard coding that for right now. And because we only have one hop, right? So the conversion's always just going to be one thing. And then we're getting the first stage, we're getting the first artifact, and that ID is going to be the key that we're using. And the ID is a UUID, and it's also a part of the subdirectory. No, you did it because you put the right prompt in. Look, we prompt engineered together, okay? So I think we all deserve a little credit. So now we can just say, great, downloading params. We're going to await. Oh, but oh no, hang on. All my types died because of that one particular error. So let me just take this. Let's do from bucket up to here. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. There we go. Okay, so we're starting conversion now. And so we need to know, thanks ChatGPT. We need to know the current stage, right? And we don't really need to know because there's only one stage, but in general, that's going to be something that we do want to know because that'll tell us like what needs to happen next. So here we'll add in, actually it's probably just easier to do it here to be like, we have stages and then you can just say like current stage as a int. Because then it'll be like 0 or whatever. And so then you can do that actually here, right? For this, now you can just do the current stage. We'll have to regenerate the types and migrate it, but that's what we can do here. So now we can do starting conversion from, this is the current one. So from fine, we'll generate it. Delete. Regenerate. Yes, delete it. Great. Okay. So now we can just do this proper, which is going to be current stage, right? And we know that's going to be it. So we can go into here, conversion payload. We have current stage. So that works. You just have to like refresh the types when it yells at you. Current stage. So we can now const, right, there's going to be 2 stages for all of these at least. There's probably a really good way to do this. Right, from the stages. And we can do that from this one and split it in the future. So now we can just do current.meme to next.meme. Right, this is the shorthand for taking the first and the second element out of the stages, which again, will have multiple stages in the future, but not right now. And so then we need to find the converter, right? This is our graph finding the converters from current meme to the next.meme. So that's an easy way of doing that. So that feels good. Can't find it, right? So now we're throwing an error if we can't from current meme to next meme. So this is just going to help our debugging when things go wrong. We can check it. And we'll have the same error here. So we save it as an error. Otherwise, we did find it. So we have this res. We're transferring to a byte array. So now for each converter, this now will need to change because we're doing an array, right? So this is kind of straightforward. So you can do that. You can just pass in the one file that we have, but now getting it back, we're going to have multiple outputs. We're doing every conversion here at once, but that still should just be one conversion for the most part. So we can say output is this, and then just change it to this. So now we have an output, and this can be an array of buffers, right? And so that works. Now we're dealing with output, which really, if we're not going to save that, right, we can just do this and clean up that entire thing. And so now we're setting a new key. We don't need to do this anymore. In fact, we need to do something slightly different. So after the conversion, we're going to create all the stages, but we're not going to create all the artifacts, right? So after the conversion, what we're going to do is we're going to say const artifact equals artifact create. And so this is going to have a new random ID, and we don't have a status, we don't have a key, we don't have anything, but we do have, right, the stage ID is what we do have, and the order for now will be 0. So after we do the conversion, right, we have conversions and we have stages. We're going to create all the stages at once, because if we create all the stages at once, actually, we don't even need to do this whole find the path of the converter, because we'll already know the path exists, which means when they upload it, we can tell them right now that we can't convert it because we don't have the path. So that's going to be another good optimization we can make, but we'll do that later. So now we have an artifact, and that means that the key, we don't need this anymore. We can upload it directly to the artifact.id, and this goes back to this. which probably should be a function. Because we're going to want it to be just defined in one place. So we need the conversion, stage, and artifact, right? And a stage needs to have an order, doesn't it? Because a conversion is going to build multiple stages, and the stages form the path, and so we need to have kind of the order that these stages are in. Is there a better way to do that? You're making a linked list. Is there a better way to define the linked list? I guess you could say like next. Is that better? Right, the current meme type and the next one, and so then you're pointing to the next stage. But it's probably just better to be like next ID, right? And to point it to the next stage. Right, next itself is a stage. Oh God. Ambiguous self-relation detected. Next end stage. Oh, well, this would be stages, right? Add the same relation name for both of them. Can I just do this? No. So the idea here is when I create a conversion, we're going to create the stages. And when we create the stages, we're going to basically look up in our graph how to convert from one to one. And so this will also have like metadata, I guess, right? For the conversion and stuff like that. For each one of these hops. It's like, and so then when you're finished a conversion, you could ask for like what the next conversion is, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? Which is going to be like, but then we don't have the number, and all this was about trying to figure out the number, right? The order. And then I guess you would have to get all of them. We'll play around with that. And then this can just be the artifact ID. We'll see. This is building out the nodes that we will go through to make the conversion happen. Of course, you need to ask yourself, does it make more sense to track the edges? But I don't think so, because each stage, so then each stage is going to have like an order or the next one, in which case you're like, what stage would this be in? Used to convert the files. It's going to depend a lot, Jake, per file conversion. So to start, we're just doing images, right? And so you can look in our converter folder, we have audio, docs, images. Now these aren't done yet. There's nothing here. So the only one we actually have working so far is the image one. And how it works is it writes the data to a file and then it execs the convert function. And so this is ImageMagick, which is a Unix utility tool which allows you to manipulate image files. So we call convert and we say what we're converting from, what we're converting to, and this will actually do like all of the byte manipulation to convert it. So we're going to use all the best tools that we can, right? This is the joy of building a software as a service. We can find like the best way to convert anything to anything and then use those tools, even if those tools are incredibly hard and challenging and frustrating and annoying to set up. It's okay. We'll spend the time to make it work and work well. Other people will be able to benefit from that. So to start, it's kind of trivial. Like you can do this locally on your computer super easily, but it'll get more complicated over time. So ImageMagick's one example, FFmpeg is another example, Pandoc, and then just as we discovered earlier, right, just like a bunch of really random utilities for like, here's this random way to extract text from a PDF document in Python. It's like, okay, well, we'll set that up. We'll do it. So I think actually, just make our life easy here, right? We'll just call this n. Just make it a number. And that way we can just hard code it. So now this key, right, turns into the key function, which is the conversion, and the first one. And then we're going to pull out this. Right? And so now, for the second one, we can now do the same thing, which this is still the same conversion, but now we're in the second stage, and we can just reference the artifact that we just created and its ID. Well, just the artifact. And so now the buffer is the output, and we'll just hard code that. Do you hear that whistling? Those are the painters. So now upload parameters. So now we don't need to update this at all, except we do want to say it's done, and we don't need the current meme anymore either. So that should be good to go. Otherwise, we say what the error is. Okay. And now down here, we can get rid of that because we don't need that anymore. Okay. So that's done. Let's go ahead and build it and see if that actually builds. It does. Okay. It's probably going to be broken in a couple ways. I'll probably have to fix a few bugs there, but that's the gist of the converter. So now the converter's been updated. Prisma's been updated. And we can now go back to our API layer. So the API layer also needs to change, right? So when we're uploading something, we have to create all of these aspects. So the first thing we did was we saved it to S3 and then we created a conversion. But now that's not going to be the thing anymore, right? So now we create a conversion first. And I don't need any of these. We'll keep that around just so I can remember the names, right? And the current stage will be 0. Now, can I include? That's going to be include. So then I can do stages, right? Hello, DN. How's it going? So we can also just create the stages immediately, right? And so this is the nested stages, so it'll connect it automatically. So we can do create. So we're going to do create that, and it'll be the meme types. Oh. Or I can just totally destroy it and, you know, hit the wrong key. I didn't do it again, did I? I did. I did do it again. This means the stream's going to end soon because I'm just hitting the wrong buttons. What are you building? I'll catch the stream later, probably offline stream. You're done. Have a good day. Thank you, Colo. Great for you to stop by. Thank you. Point me to a blog or landing page if those exists. That is a great thing. You can go to here, Dien, to start. Although there will be more details forthcoming. To give you a quick overview, we are building, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of refactoring right now. We're building a data/file conversion service, which is going to allow you to convert any file to any file. And as we're building into this a little more and more, I'm realizing that there's probably a pretty good play to not just convert files, but to give people the ability to really manipulate data. Oh yes, it's very much in progress, DN. It is very much in progress. And so I think what we're going to end up doing, which will be very fun, is going to be really allowing people to basically upload and manipulate and change and kind of build out some tooling to allow them and others to do it across a whole range of file formats. And so like what we were just talking about a little earlier was the ability to like, basically you could have you could pre-make a converter so people could like drag and drop a PDF into it. We would break the PDF into separate pages. We would extract the text from those pages. We could run those text prompts through Midjourney, and then we could create a bunch of PNGs and then let the user like download it as a zip file. And so like you can kind of, like ETL for files, right? Like I've done a bunch of enterprise data-y stuff lately. And this started at a much more high level of just convert your files. But once you're converting files, I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with the data inside the files, and giving people that power, I think will be pretty cool to see what people can build. So yeah, you got it. So let's go ahead and fix our broken code. So stage needs a meme type and it needs an order. Where'd my code go? So that's what we need to do here. So we'll do an order this, and then we need the meme, and the meme is going to be the from, right? And then we're going to do to as well. And so that's basically all we need from the stages. And so this is going to be meme 2, and it'll be order 1. And what are you missing here? Order does not exist. Oh, it's because I... Fine. Run the Prisma. Run the migration. Yes, delete everything. It's fine. Perfect. So now we should be good. Okay, perfect. Is this open source? It is currently not open source because the goal is going to be to sell this service. And so if I open source the code, I'm worried it will disincentivize anyone who's willing to buy the service. So if you want me to make videos or tutorials or guides on like specific stuff you're seeing here, then I'll be very happy to do so. But I'm going to currently keep it closed source. But you can obviously just like look at it. I know. And honestly, DN, what's gonna happen is we're gonna like play around with this for a month, and then we're gonna get tired of it, and then I'm just gonna open source the entire thing anyways and be like, here you go. So like, I don't think there's a super high possibility of this working out, but that's the goal, right? We set goals, we execute, we see what happens. Oh, the upload file thing? Like the API part of that, or the like the UI side, right? You can be like, woo. This is all just fun user interface stuff, right? So where do you store the images? We're storing everything on Amazon S3. The greatest inventions in the world. Do you see how nested we're getting here? This is amazing. I think this has order as well. So an artifact has the order. Yep, okay. And we'll just do ordered 0, right? Woo! Okay. So I think after doing all this, we also need to. This is all the stages. This is all the data. And so now we can say include, right? We want to include the stages. And we want to include the artifact we just created. Wow. Is this good? I don't know, but this is Prisma. I build my own CSS library. Nice. Will I find juicy path traversal bugs? DN, you are like nailing this. Yeah, you probably will. So part of the whole craziness about this, right, is what we're doing to make it anything to anything is we basically just built out, or I guess path traversal. You're not going to find path traversal bugs like in the web service itself. That's pretty boring. You're going to find path traversal bugs in this when you're converting different formats and files to like go in circles in the graph and and like convert things that shouldn't be converted to other things, and being able to like wire these together in the most ridiculous ways. I'm expecting bug reports from people to be like, so I tried to convert my Excel spreadsheet into a video and it didn't work. And I'll be like, why did you ever try and do that? They're like, well, you said I could. I'm like, oh, okay. Bucket. So the key here is no longer this key. This is everything we had to do. So we're getting the conversion dot stages artifact 0. Can you convert PNG to PNG? Yes. I don't actually know if my graph pathfinding logic lets you do that. Maybe it does. Let's try it. Test PNG. Convert to PNG. Uh-oh. It's stuck. What have we done? Graph pathfinding logic, yeah. Okay, well, looks like maybe you can't. Although really there's nothing that should be stopping us from doing it. So we'll fix that bug. What executes that graph? So all the conversions happen by like a custom made converter Node.js process that just like looks for conversions and executes them. And we're just running that in DigitalOcean right now. Okay. So this fixes the upload, right? So when you create a new conversion now, we're creating the conversion, and then we're creating the stages, and you have whatever stage you're going from to the stage you're going to, and the current stage is set to 0. And then we also create the very first artifact, because this artifact, we're using it in the key, but this key is not the right key, is it? We need to change that. Good catch, chat. This key needs to be this function right here. And so we probably want to move this now to S3. So this can now just be imported from libs3, which one here, and then of course we need to use the same thing in the upload here. Come on. Right, so this is now the conversion, import this from lib, and this is the conversion stages artifact, and we can get rid of this. When I upload a file and convert that, then upload a new one, it's stuck on pending of Apache Airflow. Actually, I don't know off the top of my head Apache Airflow. So if you do this, yeah. So I need to, basically, you found a bug. Just go ahead and refresh the page in between, and that should let you like upload another one. Basically, once you run convert, I disable that when something is like not ready. And so we want to be able to like let people keep at this, I suppose. So just go ahead and refresh the page. What is this? How can you have such a page that I don't even know what this does? And the fact that it already says install makes me terrified. Like, I don't want to install something, I want to use something. Use cases. What does this do? I'm in a bug mood. You know, I probably should just have a page somewhere where people can submit bugs, because you people are going to be the best QA ever. Chat always crushes it. DN, what? I don't even know what this is. Okay, you know what? Fine. You know what we're gonna do? Enterprise ETL workflows. So we want like the power of this, right? But we don't want to be all enterprisey. Like, the second you say workflow, I feel like anyone not in the enterprise is just like, they just like shut down. Like, workflow is a weird, bad, just like, ugh, sort of terminology. And so like, this is something that, like, you know, if you're implementing at a very high level in the enterprise and like teams are coming in to build this, what we want to do is give like the ability to like make workflows, right? And custom programming with interfaces and all this sort of stuff to like handle data, but in such a user-friendly way that people can do it like instantaneously without thinking about it. And so I think starting with files is a pretty good way to approach this, because everyone knows what a file is. People want to convert files to different things, right? But what this turns into, I think, is transform any data to any data, right? Like, that's the end goal. And so instead of just like transforming files, you're actually probably looking into the file and doing stuff with the data. So like, you could upload a CSV and be like, I want to take this CSV and I want to extract all the rows, and then I want to filter it, and then I want to map it, and then we're going to reduce it. But like, do it in such a way that people are just like, people can build this, you know, without getting bogged down, I guess, in like, you know, crazy implementation details. Thank you for showing it out, DN. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll take a closer look at it later to see if there's something we can reuse. I've done that a couple times with some Apache projects. So it's intuitive, yeah. So I mean, like, software, one of my big things is like, you need to make it intuitive. It needs to be so simple and so easy to grasp that like you just understand how to do it without needing to read a bunch of documentation. And so like, this page is already too complicated for some people, right? Convert anything to anything. But we're gonna have a landing page that is like, convert a JPEG to a PNG. And then they don't need to touch any buttons. They just like drag and drop the JPEG and it automatically spits out a PNG. Just like boom, boom, done, right? So like, this is the slightly more powerful, but slightly more complicated. And then of course, all those pages will be great for SEO. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So this is the upload now. And now for the download, it's gonna be slightly weirder. Right, we're pulling out the conversion, but this no longer has the exact ID. So what we need to do is we want to include all of the stages and then include all the artifacts. And so now we can do the same thing where this key is the conversion, right? And the last stage, we only do 1 hop right now. 2 hops this time. And so now the content type, what you're downloading, is going to be the conversion, and that stage. Whoop. Just like that. Okay. This is our generation, and then this should be fine. We can just check the status, right? Cool, so this should be done. So let's go ahead and run the build to see what we broke. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey here to like wrap our heads around it, in terms of like what we're building and where it's gonna go. Have you ever used Marco.js? I have not. Marco. That makes web apps fun. That's Copilot, Noor. Also, hi, first time here. What are you building? I hope I answered that already. We were just kind of talking about it, but let me know if you want me to go deeper. I have Copilot and like Copilot Chat installed, the one that you have to like pay for and stuff. When I'm doing sort of like my streams here, I find like it's fun to experiment with whatever tools I can to just like make my life a little easier. And like the AI tools these days are just so powerful, it's kind of fun to play with. Okay, the build succeeded, so we can now go ahead and push all of this. We're on a branch, so we're not going to be updating production yet. Feature new data model with stages and artifacts. So now we can push this. And now I'm going to start the long process, I think, of debugging and finding anything that's broken, right? So let's see if it works. Because it won't. And then we'll probably call it quits. And I'll do some debugging tonight and get it to a point where it works. Any fancy ideas for the dashboard? So far, we're not having like user accounts, right? If that's what you mean by like a dashboard, like the user logs in, like sees their dashboard and that sort of thing. We will have user accounts, but only when it makes sense to like really drive value. You're still live. Amazing efforts here. It's 1:38 a.m. Thank you. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, so it is a rice rosy 3:40. Although I woke up this morning and I was like, wow, I had a little too much to drink last night, so it took me a while to get here. But it was worth it. This has been a lot of fun, and I think we've made a bunch of good progress. So let's try to make this work, watch it crash and burn, and see where we're at. The UI for defining the graph. So right now the graph is all defined in code. So we have literally in the converter folder, we have a graph. And what it does is it pulls in all of the converters, in this case, just the image converters. That's all we have. It has the edges and the nodes defined, and then it like builds the graph in memory, which basically is just, it puts all the nodes into the graph, right? And then the converters form the edges between them. So if you have like a PDF and you want to go to a JPEG, then you find, we're using just a breadth first search to execute a search across the graph to figure out how you can follow the edges to get from one to the other. So I think at one point we're gonna want like a hidden UI, so we as the engineers can look at the graph and be like, okay, how does this thing work, right? Because if you just have images, it's pretty straightforward. It's like there's like 10 nodes and all the nodes connect to each other. Like it's just a perfectly full graph, right? But when you get into the crazy, crazy esoteric things of like, I want to convert text to a movie, like there's no one thing that does that, right? You have to traverse the graph to get from one to the other. And so being able to like look at our entire graph and see which path was taken, and then alternative paths, right? Because you might say like, oh, I don't want to take the shortest path. I want to take the best path. And being able to like figure out what that is, it's going to be insane. Literally insane. All right. So what.jpg convert to PNG. Boom. So we upload. We run the converter. Start a conversion. Downloading the file. We have an extra parentheses in our key. Did you see that? This is what Copilot does to me. Copilot does this bullshit. And download. Oh, we were so close. What happened? 404 not found. Oh, it's because it's because I literally just changed this. And that changed the key definition. Holy cow, it worked. We just refactored our entire database model and rewrote all the code, and it worked. It actually worked. Dang. We are so good. Okay, well, we still need to get rid of that, so let's get rid of that. When I'm working on a branch, I like to reset, recommit, use the same commit, and then force push. So my push history looks really nice. So if you like look at my repo, which again, you can't, but whenever anyone works with me and they look at the repo, GitHub PR create at me fill. Right now, the push history is just very clean. There's only one commit ever. It's just like a very small thing, but it's a really nice thing. Okay. This has been awesome. Let's go full face. Everybody, I am going to call it quits here. We've been live for like 3.5 hours. Very excited with the progress we made. I'm going to spend a little more time with this data model over the weekend, playing with it and trying to really make sure it's robust, and allowing us start playing around with like what it looks like, mainly for like the PDFs, right? So if you want to convert a PDF to a JPEG, you get one PDF per page, or one JPEG per page, right? It's like you do that conversion. And so that will allow us to do PDF conversions. And then when you click download, you're going to want to download all of those as a zip. So that's what we're going to have to implement too. Once we implement that, I think we're going to be in a pretty good place for like, yes, we can do a bunch of image conversions. We'll clean up the homepage. We'll add like a contact us button and form just to like make us a little more official. And we will be able to iterate a little further. I might also write down my thoughts on like where I see this going, because just file conversion is kind of like, okay, like how is that going to be a business? How are you going to do stuff that's different than like other things? Right? Like you don't really get people jazzed about it. But I think this whole deeper idea of like a data platform that lets you manipulate data as easily as manipulating files is intriguing. And we'll start easy and build in that direction. And of course, do the marketing, get the content out there, right? And get people kind of coming to the site to do stuff, because if someone is interested, then we sell it to them, right? Tigra, thank you for your kind words. My streaming schedule planning to be Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 4 Eastern time. And I also still want to be putting out videos. Ideally, I do 2 YouTube videos a week as well, but I have been terrible finding time to like actually do the recording of those sorts of things. But that would be the goal. And so for anyone watching, what I'd love to hear from anybody is if like you see stuff here that are that is cool and you want me to like make a video of, again, the code here is an open source, but I can like make a video of whatever that is and be like, yes, like here's how I do this. And, you know, people can, you get the source code for all that stuff. So I'm very happy to like dissect this entire thing. And messaging system for the support you are planning. I think it would just be email to start, honestly, because that's easy. And probably, yeah, just like send whatever support at recastfile.com sort of thing. Or talk to me on Twitter. Right? Do like the simplest thing to get people like, okay, you know, we don't need to do a ticketing system. You could do like one of those little chatbot things on the website. Maybe that would be like the next step. But it would really depend on like how many people we have coming to the site and doing conversions. Like that's the biggest thing. Get people coming, converting files, using the site, telling people about it. Yes, so in one of my past videos for the time tracker, we implemented Stripe. So I think for billing, first we need to do user accounts, right? And so once you add user accounts, you can give people configuration options. So like, you know, let's say we delete downloads after 1 hour. Like, I don't want to store your stuff. I'm not a file storage thing. You can convert something and then we delete it after 1 hour. But if you wanted to stick around for longer, you could sign up and then you could say, keep my files for longer. It's like, okay, fine. You gave me a little bit of your information, right? You created an account. So I will give you the benefit of configuring, you know, the downloads. And then we'll probably end up, as we get more complicated, we're going to limit various things to protect ourselves. So like you can't upload a 13 gigabyte movie and ask me to convert it to a text document because I would go bankrupt. And so the billing aspect of it, we'll do some sort of subscription pricing, and we will say like, okay, users, if you want to upload anything over a gigabyte, you have to subscribe to this plan, right? And so basically just like find the smart limits. You know, you can do 100 conversions for free, but if you're doing more than that, you're gonna have to pay. You know, things that most people won't run into, but if you're using our service for like your business, right, that's the boundary. Like if you're getting a lot of value from what we're doing, then I think it's fair to ask you to pay for it. What are you pre-productions to follow along with you from stream 1? I don't think there are any prereqs. Like you can just follow along from stream 1 and go. I'm not doing everything live is probably the only catch. So again, if you see stuff that I've like glossed over, then you can be like, ooh, do a video on that because I love like to know how you did that. So like the fancy background I did off stream, some of the blog CSS look and feel I did off stream. Thoughts around subscription versus usage-based model? That is a great question, Deanne. That is a fantastic question. So you could go either way, and I think it would be totally fine. What I think the important thing is trying to balance, are you charging people for, like, I guess there's two parts to it. Are you charging people based on, like, how much it costs me or you, right? And so, like, the more you use, the more I charge you. Or are you charging them based on the value they get out of the service? And those can kind of go together, but if someone just uses the service a lot, then it might just be like, okay, well, you're using it a lot, so like you're getting a lot of value from this, so we're just going to charge you respective of the value I think you're getting, as opposed to how much like usage we're actually doing. The other thing to keep in mind is businesses really like to know exactly how much it's going to cost them. And so if you say like, well, it depends, they're like, okay, like, is that good actually? So I think usage-based is going to make the most sense when the volume we have is huge. And the volume could be like very small, right? So if we have a bunch of people doing like just 100 conversions, and then we have a couple people doing like 10,000 conversions, the discrepancy there is so big that it would probably make sense to have some sort of usage-based pricing, because then the people doing thousands upon thousands of of conversions are being charged appropriately. But if most people are just doing a few, you're also charging them appropriately. So I think the simplest thing to do is can we start with just straight up like, here's a subscription, and then we see if there's abuse. And if people are abusing it because like they can convert a billion things, then we can look into changing pricing. But honestly, you probably just have like an enterprise tier, right? Like that's the catch-all of all goodness in the cloud, where you just have an enterprise tier, and anyone doing something so extreme, you just say, look, like the pro plan goes up to 10,000 conversions a month. If you're doing more than that, enterprise plan, you got to pay out the wazoo for that. Noor, do video on those explaining a bit more about it. Was that like the backgrounds and the blog CSS? Just go ahead and like drop a comment or a tweet or something, like whatever specific things, and I'll go and take a look. Will you add rate limitation on the API to prevent spam? That is a great question. And the answer is going to be yes. The answer is going to be we're going to do something there, right? Mainly because we're probably going to rate limit you based on your IP address to start, to say like this IP address can get N number of conversions per month or per day, right? Whatever. Because if you just like show up and you don't have an account, then we want you to be able to convert stuff, right? Like that's the joy of what we're providing. You can convert small things inconsistently for free. Like it's just so cheap for us as the service provider. So if you want to convert a JPEG to a PNG, like you don't need to make an account for that, because you want to be able to send a link to your friend, to your parent, to whatever, right? And say like, just do this. Just use this website. It's great. I know the person who does it. It's so easy, right? You want to be able to do that. And if you go to the website and the first thing is like, create an account, then you're like, oh no, like this is awful. It's a terrible experience. All I wanted to do was convert this frickin' JPEG. So we're not going to have that, right? But if you go to the site and you're like, well, I need to convert 10,000 JPEGs. It's like, okay, we're going to have a problem. So we will implement limiting of the API for what people can do for free. And then if you create an account, we'll raise the limits because you've helped us out. You've created an account that's useful for us. And then you'll still have limits though. And so then at one point you'll have to pay, and then we'll raise the limits more. And then to DN's point, if at one point you're doing a billion, like you're going to have to pay more. So we will get to all of that. The biggest thing is going to be like, does anyone use it at all? Right? So I love thinking about, okay, how can we implement rate limiting? But you don't implement rate limiting until you have a rate limiting problem, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. And the thing that's most important is going to be getting people to use the service. So we're going to push this as far as we can with no rate limiting, because we want to get to a point where people are like, the conversion's taking a long time. And we go and we take a look, and like our little conversion service in the background is dying under the load and melting. Will you implement a invite system? Like if I invite someone, I get +1 credit. Yeah, I love that. So that to me falls under the category of growth hack, right? So figuring out like the growth hacks we can use to turbo kick the growth. So things that come to my mind there are going to be like getting people to follow you on social media. So if you follow me on social media, not me, I mean, that's great. Please follow me. I love that. But if you follow Recast, the product, right, then you could be like, sure, we'll give you 3 months for free, right? If you invite somebody and they sign up with your code, we'll give you 3 months for free. If they pay for it, then we'll give you a year for free, right? We can do a whole bunch of things like that to get people to share it, to use it, to recommend it, that sort of thing. Rate limiting would be necessary for a project budget. Just like to make sure our budget doesn't explode. Again, we need to come up against the problem. So I think it's always good to be like, we will need to do that, but it's not a problem yet. And like if it does become a big, it's like what's going to happen without rate limiting, right? So let's say rate limiting is like some sort of problem. What's going to happen is our service is just going to degrade in how good it is first, because I'm only converting like one file at a time in the back end. It just sits there and chugs. It's great, right? So like That's the rate limiting. If you uploaded like 10,000 files, it's like, okay, well, I can still just convert one at a time. Like, you're going to be sitting there waiting forever. And then everyone else is going to be waiting forever. So once we get to a point where like that's a problem, then we have a good problem. Then we know people are using it. So I think we'll just be excited about good problems to have. Anyways, I am going to take my dog for a walk and then, yeah, have the rest of my Thursday. Sending out my newsletter. Give myself a little plug. Sending out my newsletter tomorrow morning. You can sign up in the description if you want. It makes me feel great. And I talk about a whole bunch of stuff about building SaaS and the things that I've kind of been up to. So we touch on a lot of great things there. So I'm going to go write that tonight and send it out. And again, let me know in the comments anything you want to see. Happy to make lots of content videos about this sort of stuff, going over anything in detail. But so far, I'm happy with the progress we're making and where we're going with the service. So excited to keep working on this. And hopefully by next week, we'll have a homepage that doesn't look like complete shit. So that's the goal. All right, everybody. Have a great day, great night, wherever you are. And I will see you next week. Bye.